You guys ready?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Welcome to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Vernon Glenn, of CBS affiliate KPIX TV in San Francisco.
All business.
All business. And excuse me, Bruce McCowan.
I don't know what I can add to that.
Yeah. And today's show is going to be very special because we asked back Steve Baker, who is a sports agent. He's going to...
Wait a minute. The super sports agent. Steve Baker.
That's it.
Wow.
Super sports agent Steve Baker.
At least you can give me a job with a post name. I don't know what I can do.
Yeah.
Steve Baker, the touchdown maker.
That was in 1986. Draft choice of the Giants.
All right.
There you go.
All right. Let's see. Today's trivia theme, because every commercial break we have a trivia question, and I thought, you know what? Since we have Steve Baker on, this is NFL draft picks. So you better ace all of these.
Okay.
All right? Okay. And the vacations we're going to be giving away are presented by Lighthouse Resort and Marina. And if you want to listen to Sports Econ 101, take us on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Sports Byline USA, and CRN. Some other things we're going to try to talk about today. Roger Goodell, is his job safe as long as the NFL makes money?
Try. We're going to kick the door down. Try. Let's try
it depends
stuff.
on how much. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
All right.
The Raiders getting rid of Dennis Allen and all that kind of fun stuff.
All right, we're on the clock.
And Derek Jeter. How about that Hollywood script?
Number 2, Derek Jeter.
Isn't that wild? You heard about that, right? That Bob Shepard's voice was actually played.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For the last...
At his insistence,
yeah.
I believe,
Bob Shepard's been dead for, 3 years?
I thought that was pretty cool. And then he gets his last hit in Boston.
In Boston. And the fans gave him a standing ovation.
Did you see his 2-year-old nephew, Duff the cat, as he was celebrating the joy of his last...
My big question is, he's still going out with Hannah Davis? That's my big question.
Don't know. We'll answer that when we get back. Okay, so this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding 8% secured by real estate. It doesn't get any more conservative than that. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. Stay with us. You are listening to Sports Econ 101.
Is Minka Kelly back in the picture?
I thought it was Hannah Davis was his main squeeze.
It might be his flavor of the month now.
Okay.
But I heard that Minka Kelly might be back for a second tour of duty.
Yeah. Is it true that he gave these gift packages to girls that he would break up with? Just to
I have no idea.
You're in that story, right?
A parting gift.
Parting gift. It would be like a really nice gift of all sorts of things, like chocolates and flowers, and he'd have it delivered by I don't know who would do this in New York and have them drop it off at their apartment.
Classic closure.
Yeah, that's a good closure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I usually give mine a bill, an invoice. Hey, for all the trouble you put me through.
You give him cab fare and kick him to the curb, don't you?
Just a meeting.
Yeah, see, my anniversary's on the 14th, which is a Tuesday. I said, Eva,
right in the middle of the playoffs.
And not only that, but I said, we're recording. She goes, yeah, but it's our 25th anniversary. I go, so?
You better do something nice for her.
So,
That's why we're recording.
You better do something nice for her. I'm telling you.
She's taken me.
This guy got married in the middle of the Earthquake World Series.
I did.
You did too?
Not well, October 18th.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Really?
October 18th, what year? No.
Well, 97.
Yeah.
He's a youngster compared to us.
Exactly.
Well, I was married only 2 years before that, 95.
Steve, how old are you?
56.
Okay.
Just a kid.
See, he gets to say that. I can't quite say
How old are
that.
you?
56. He looks like he's 36.
I'm 54 and a half.
And you're at Vern?
52.
Vern's the youngster.
Yes.
So we got 56, 54, 52, and 62.
Okay, good. All even numbers.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yes. Very good. All right.
Okay, what do you want to cover first? I'm gonna just turn it over to you.
Well, you got to kick off with the NFL. Oh, the number one thing you want to talk about with the NFL?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the first coaching change of the season.
And then we'll get
Quarter of the season end, and
get some thoughts here.
The Raiders are on their 19th head coach in the last
19th.
3 years.
No, 19th in their history.
In their history. Okay.
But since they've returned to Oakland, I think it's 13. I believe it's 13.
Are you sure? Let's look that up. I got to look that up.
When did they start? 1960?
5, 6, 7. Yeah, it would be actually 12. This would be their 12th.
When 1960?
1960. Eddie Erlitz, Red Conkright.
You can get the new iPhone?
Let's see.
I like the smaller.
This one's fine.
John
Is that the 5? That's the 5.
This is the 5. Yeah.
Marty Feldman.
He's the one with the big eyes, right?
Yeah, Tom Flores. Marty Feldman was only there about a year. And Red Conrad, I don't think he ever won a game with the Raiders. He was hired halfway through the 1-13 season, and they didn't. Actually, they did win a game. They won the last game of the year to avoid a winless season.
All right, since 2001, this Sprono will be the 8th coach.
Oh, since Gruden, yeah.
Since 2000.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Okay, right. We continue on with Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
Get a seal here and a seal here and up the alley.
That is Vince Lombardi.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
good.
I remember that.
And Bruce McGowan.
NFL Films.
And our special guest, Steve Baker, sports agent.
Overwhelmed by the personalities.
Extraordinaire.
Vern, you wanted to ask Steve?
Well, let's just kick it off. Let's just talk about what's trending, and that would be the first head coaching change of the season. 4 games in, week 5, and nobody's shocked, guys, that Dennis Allen is let go. I mean, they didn't even wait till they got to the headquarters. They called him on the phone.
They called him on the phone. That's kind of. Don't you think that's kind of rude, Steve? I mean, why not call the guy at least into the office and say, "Hey, look, let's have a heart-to-heart. We're letting you go," but doing it on the phone just seems kind of impersonal.
It seems pretty impersonal, but I think probably one of the least well-kept secrets of the last month was something could happen after the London trip. The record, the bye the week after, it was something a lot of people expected to happen.
Well, it couldn't happen to, I don't want to say nicer guy. I mean, I don't know him that well, but he didn't really have a chance.
No.
When you look at that roster, I mean, that roster was not built to do anything.
No.
I mean, the Raiders will be judged 2 and 3 years from now based on their first and second rounder this year. You know, Mack and Carr.
Mm-hmm.
If they become the players that many people think they can become, some coach will benefit.
Now, between them and Jacksonville, is it a little bit too early for them to go, let's just think about next year with the draft pick?
I don't think
Jacksonville's pretty awful, so that would be the toilet bowl game.
But I wonder what the over/under is on the Raiders even winning a game this season. Now Tony Sparano's he's the interim head coach, so he's promoted from the line coach, and he was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins before. But you guys, I don't know. And I made this point off the air that you look at this Raider roster, and they just could not bring in the key free agents to really turn it up. I like Justin Tuck, but he's a C-lister.
Well, the thing was, at the beginning of the season, everybody said, Justin Tuck, LeVar Woodley, Antonio Smith, Maurice Jones-Drew, they got this kid from Fresno State, Carr, they got Khalil Mack, as Steve was mentioning. This looks like a pretty good team. And I was thinking, a lot of question marks here. And again, they may play a lot better than they've been playing. They may win a couple of games and surprise us all, but I think they just overestimated the talent they brought in.
But you got to win with defense, and the Raiders just keep pushing back. I mean, the Dolphins never got out of the shotgun the whole game at Wembley, and it was just run gun left, run gun right, run gun up the middle, and the Raiders could not stop it.
They look confused.
Then in the secondary, they have Chimdi Chekwa. Wasn't supposed to start the game. Was just on the practice roster, and then he starts the game, and they went right at him the entire time.
Yeah, it was ugly.
So let me, Steve, you're being a sports agent. So what do you do when you get a potential draft pick to go to a team, let's say like the Raiders, who are lousy right now, and the player says, "Gee, I'd like to get some money, but I really kind of want to win too." How do you deal with that?
Well, it depends. First of all, playing in California is always something the players want to do. The Raiders still are a brand that people like to be associated with. But the reality is there's no difference in the money wherever you get taken. It's just a matter of where you get taken in the draft.
Yeah, but
and the opportunity. If I had a young player, there's some argument you'd want him to go to the Raiders because their roster is so weak that you'd have a reasonable chance to play.
Yeah, right away.
Big fish in a small
when you're looking at opportunity, you're looking at first a chance to win, but you're also looking at a chance to shine. If you were a young quarterback, the place you'd want to be is the Raiders because you have the best chance to get on the field.
Have you ever picked up the phone and called a struggling team going, "Hey, you know what? I got just the guy."
I did that today. I do that every day.
But think about that though. If you're let's say you are a quarterback, right? But you know that the front line is just not good blockers.
Yeah, I'd like to be Derek Carr right now.
You look.
What makes you look bad?
You look at your different options. I mean, you look at the team's management. You look at the chance to start. You look at the players around you, and then you try to make the best.
And you call Kaepernick and you say, "How do you run like that?"
It's interesting though. I mean, a lot of people have said, well, they expected Dennis Allen to go if the team was 0-4. And my point is that, Reggie McKenzie, I think, is just as much on the hot seat. But if you get rid of Reggie McKenzie right now, then who runs the show behind the scenes? Who brings in players to, I don't know if that's such a good idea either, although this is Reggie McKenzie's team more so than Allen's. So
yeah, but
Allen,
isn't the hay in the barn already? Let's just say you got rid of the players are already there.
yeah, they're not going to change.
Yeah.
Unless you go out and make a deal, but making a deal smacks of desperation. And teams are going to know that, and they're going to come at the Raiders and say, "Oh, you want this guy? We're going to want X number of draft choices."
So how about it, Steve? Boy, I mean, Bruce having said that, I mean, you got a client. I mean, do you throw a client like that into the fire on a team on a downward spiral like that?
Of course, it depends on the choices you have.
Yeah.
I mean, the Raiders are still one of 32 teams in the league that have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders are certainly in a bad situation right now. The positive for a player's perspective is if you're a young player, it could be potentially a very good opportunity. And history has shown that things can turn around quickly. I mean, 4 years ago, the 49ers were one of the worst teams in football. Jim Harbaugh takes over the team, and they go to 3 straight NFC championships. So that's how quickly things change. But right now, it looks bad. As we were talking off the air, I think what you really judge with the Raiders is a couple of years from now whether Carr and Mack become players. If Carr and Mack become the players that people expect them to become, then you suddenly have the cornerstone of something that could be good.
And in 1 and 2 years from now, is Reggie McKenzie buying the groceries, so to speak?
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned Harbaugh. So with all isn't there a bunch of stuff kind of mingling around?
There's a lot of talk, and I don't know how much of it is real. But again, we've heard it from Deion Sanders and Trent Dilfer, and Harbaugh was rather, I guess, Vern, I don't know if you were at the press conference yesterday, but I heard it, and he was rather emphatic in his denial that they knew anything about what was going on inside our walls.
Well, Harbaugh said, "I think it's a bunch of horse."
That there was that there was some disharmony among the players. Now, Steve, you know Harbaugh, and I've worked with Harbaugh. He is a prickly personality. He is not a real likable guy, a great coach, but there are a lot of players that don't like this guy. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's some players that are publicly saying things to people that get out into the media that he's not the most cuddly guy.
I think you get an off-the-record comment on any topic on any. You can get an off-the-record comment on any topic. The issue with Harbaugh is the very thing that makes him an excellent coach is also what probably makes him difficult, is that he's a difficult guy.
Yeah.
At the same time, that quality he's managed to be able to get the most out of it.
So what are all these rumors with Michigan and all these potential?
Well, I mean, he's got 1 year left in his contract after this year, and they would like to get him signed to a long-term deal. You don't want to go into the off-season with only 1 year left in his contract. He doesn't want that. The team doesn't want that, and I think they will resolve it. I don't think the Niners. Jed York has to look at what this team is, as Steve was mentioning before. What was this team before Jim Harbaugh came along? They were a joke for the better part of a decade. They were one of the worst teams in football.
And how much of that had to do with Singletary?
Well, it had to do with him. It had to do with Nolan. It had to do with the draft. It had to do with the injuries. I mean, there were a lot of factors, but I think Singletary was one of them.
I mean, I think Singletary was a coach who took an 8-8 team and turned them into 6-10, and I think that Harbaugh took over a team that was an 8-8 team and turned them into 12-4. I think there's no question that Harbaugh's now turned around 3 separate moribund programs.
Shows you why a Hall of Fame linebacker isn't always the best choice for a coach. Huh?
Well, I mean, it's been said before that the great players don't translate into great coaches. I don't know why, but
I mean, the theory behind that is that great players expect players to be able to perform with the kind of talent they had, while mediocre players tend to understand more how to tap into. Now, Jim Harbaugh was also an MVP 1 year, so it's not.
Yeah, no, he was a good player.
Yeah, not a Hall of Famer, but I mean, that guy is as good a player as you have in the coach.
remember the captain comeback?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're going to cut to our first commercial break, and again, the theme is NFL draft picks. Who was the Heisman Trophy winning running back that was drafted number 1 overall ahead of number 2 pick, who was Hall of Fame linebacker Lawrence Taylor? Okay. The first 3. Well,
So that's going back to about 1980, 81.
I don't remember that. I don't remember.
I think it was 82, actually.
Okay, so the first 3.
He's younger than me, so I was really
guess.
young.
Am I allowed to guess right now?
Not yet.
No.
Come back to the break. Okay. The first 3 emails with the correct answer are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward@sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question: who was the Heisman Trophy winning running quarterback? Let me try this again. Who was the Heisman Trophy winning running back who was drafted number 1 overall ahead of number 2 pick, who was Hall of Fame linebacker Lawrence Taylor? All right, that's the question. And when we return, Steve is going to answer it on the air because he knows all.
He knows all. Huh?
Okay.
All right.
Are we going
You'll
away?
see it.
I'm leaning
Not yet.
forward.
No, it's not that. You'll see the Sports Econ 101.
I was giving Everett a hard time.
I know.
He goes, when we come back, I said, no, we're not going anywhere.
We're
We're
going to the
staying
bathroom.
We're
That's
staying
what
right
we're
here.
We're staying right here. Bob Agnew.
You guys on the internet, we're still
You
here.
know Bob Agnew in Austin?
I do know Bob Agnew very well.
Yeah, he always used to do that. He'd get really mad when we do a talk show, any of us, and say, we'll be right back with more. No, we're not going anywhere. You're turning the listeners off. They're switching their
but that's
radios.
not- I mean,
No,
yeah,
he had a point, though. He had a
doing
point.
it.
I mean, it's subtle language that affects people's listening habits. I
So
mean,
listen to the.
you know, the average person, when they listen to the radio, they listen for only 10 minutes at a time.
I heard it was 7 to 8 minutes.
Okay,
That's
well,
what
you
I
may be
saw.
right. You may be right. Of course, if you're in the car, you're sort of a prisoner, so you can listen for
No, but
an
you
hour.
can change. No, but you can.
I usually stay to the same
Let them
thing.
come back.
You know what I do?
I wait till the commercial. Well, it actually depends on the show because
Yeah.
I go back and forth between
Yeah.
95.7 The Game and
Yeah, I cannot listen to Fitz and Brooks though.
No, when when Papa's on, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find
You know, it's interesting. Arbitron did an analysis for the show we do, the business show. The average listener stays with us for half an hour.
Well, I think you have a different kind of an audience too.
It is.
Yeah, they're serious, more serious.
Yeah, but also I think it's because we do the the trivia questions.
Yeah. Lieberman had an interesting nice little quick item about Tolbert, saying, "Oh, I really like Tolbert," and I agree.
I think Tolbert's amazing.
Yeah, he's terrific. And
No,
when he
but
first,
Just a classic man's man, kind of,
nice guy, knows his sports, loves all sports, and doesn't take it too seriously.
Right? True.
About 10 plus years ago, my brother was on an airplane and I recognized the voice, so he went over to him. He goes, "Are you Tom Tolbert?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I didn't think you were that bald."
That bald.
Yeah, I just.
And Tom always shaved his head because after he started getting
After he started losing his hair,
yeah.
because in the early '80s, he always had like different haircuts.
Oh, he had all he had the Bobcat. Remember?
Yeah,
When he was a player, he had the Bobcat back in the early.
Teasing Eva about because.
Yeah.
Don't do it. I'll shave my head. All right. Anything specific you guys want to cover?
We with the NFL. I mean,
Anything.
you talk about Tom Brady.
Yeah,
you can
what's
talk
going
about
on with
you can talk about Alex Smith coming back to play the Niners. So you can.
What did you
Talk
think of
about-
that?
We should talk about the Ray Rice stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, what's the latest with it? Because we did cover it.
Then
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you guys want to do. I'm easy.
Well, let's get into Steve a little bit. Because I want to cover you don't just cover NFL. You cover multiple sports, right?
I only do NFL, but I can talk
Oh,
about
you
it.
do. Okay. All right.
I don't know the answer to your trivia question.
Ooh.
I'm gonna take a good wild guess.
Okay. I'll take a while. I'll take a guess.
I'm
too.
gonna take a guess.
Okay, well, then we'll move on to other stuff.
Okay.
That's fine. Sports Econ 101 continues. I'm Edward Brown, your host. See, we didn't go anywhere, did we?
No, we're right here.
We're right here.
We
Okay.
haven't moved.
And on
In
my
suspended animation.
am I right? I've got Bruce McGowan, long-term radio sports personality.
I like that long term.
Long-term.
I'm here for
Long
long
term.
Long-term, yes.
No short timers here.
Long time.
That's right.
That's right. We celebrated our year-and-a-half anniversary.
Hey.
Yeah. And
Do I have to get you a ring? Does that mean
Yeah. That's right.
flowers?
And on my left, I've got Vern Glenn, CBS affiliate KPIX TV in San Francisco. And our special guest is Steve Baker, sports agent, who we were going to ask him the question here. Who was the Heisman Trophy winning running quarterback?
Running
I'm
quarterback.
sorry.
Running.
Let me try this. Why? I can't read my
Give me
own
this
writing
thing.
here.
Let me read the thing.
No, because you'll look at the other
All
answers.
right, go ahead.
Who was the Heisman Trophy winning
Running back.
There you go.
that was drafted number 1 overall ahead of the number 2 pick, who was the Hall of Fame linebacker Lawrence Taylor?
Now, was this guy the running back? Was he successful?
I wouldn't say
All
so.
pro? Not an all pro.
I wouldn't
Washout,
say
basically.
So. I thought so.
Running back.
A washout. Wow.
Washout.
That changes
Well,
my.
who were you thinking?
How many Heisman Trophy washouts have there been though? There've been.
That we can go.
Yeah.
Johnny,
Yeah, but
the guy I'm always thinking of is Johnny Rogers back in the '70s.
Okay.
Yeah, but Lawrence
you got
Taylor
the
was.
right last name.
I do.
Who
Rogers.
was taken by the
Oh,
Saints?
he's thinking of George
George
Rogers
Rogers.
from University of South Carolina.
George Rogers,
Ah.
taken by the Saints.
Oh, number 38. Yep.
That's right. Would you say he was a washout?
Well, Johnny Rogers.
Well,
back
at the time he was playing in New Orleans, they
Yeah.
were still the Aints.
Yeah, the Aints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Archie Griffin wins the Heisman 2 years in a row, and he just couldn't quite.
Well, they went to the Bengals.
Yeah,
come on.
Again,
Yeah.
the Bengals were the angle.
That's the problem. I mean, you go number one, you're going to go to a crappy team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to turn it around.
Bengals, by the way, had the highest number of athletes arrested for several years there. Now they've fallen back. I'm
Find
not
the
sure.
49ers now.
No, the 49ers, believe it or not, are not the, Steve would probably know this answer. Who is the top in terms of number of arrests? Any idea?
I'm happy to say Steve does not know that answer.
Because none of my clients.
Speaking of the 49ers, I wonder how Alex Smith feels about playing the 49ers. This will be tomorrow as we go to tape here against the 49ers in his own, back against his old team in Levi Stadium. How great would it be for him to come in here and just tear it up in the 49ers' new stadium against the team that just essentially dropped him?
Now you have to feel for Alex Smith. One story that really doesn't get discussed is Alex Smith goes to free agency and comes back to the Niners at a discount. He came back for less money than the market was to be with the Niners, and then ends up losing his job. Now, again, that's the way the NFL works, and I don't think there's a team in the league that would take on Kaepernick over Alex Smith.
Yeah, in case you're just walking in the door or in the car or whatever, just kind of tuning around. I mean, Smith got a concussion in a game, and he was having a great game. I believe it was
he was having a great season.
Yeah.
He'd had a great season the year before.
Alex Smith is a good quarterback,
Yeah.
but I don't think he has the upside of Colin Kaepernick. But the interesting part as an agent for me with Alex Smith is why in the world Alex Smith came back and signed a multi-year deal with the 49ers. I mean, he signed a deal at a discount with the 49ers, but he should have just signed a one-year deal. Instead, what happens is he signed a deal that had a below market with the Niners that were able to trade and get draft choices for, and then the Chiefs had him under contract and were able to use that contract as leverage to doing a new contract.
Didn't Jim Harbaugh have something to do with that, though? Because I know that Harbaugh, from what I understand, really made an effort to reach out to him, and they had a very good relationship, apparently.
I mean, I think Harbaugh successfully recruited.
Yeah.
But again, the NFL is the ultimate meritocracy.
Yeah.
No matter what they pay you or whatever you do, they're going to try to play the guy they think has a chance.
Well, didn't Alex Smith benefit from working with Norv Turner, with one of his great years, and then when Harbaugh showed up, he did make him a better quarterback.
I mean, listen, if Alex Smith hadn't been the first pick of the draft, Alex Smith might have been selling insurance after 5 years, but because
And
he was
making
the
more money. Insurance men make a lot of money.
But because he was the first pick of the draft, he was given multiple chances to succeed, and ultimately did.
And now he's laughing at his bank account because the Chiefs gave him a nice multi-year deal.
You know what's interesting about Alex Smith? Let's say the 49ers won that game against the Giants in the NFC title game where the fumble was committed by Kyle Williams, and they go on and won the Super Bowl. Would he have lost his job the next year had he suffered the concussion? And would have Kaepernick gotten that job away from a guy who had taken his team to a Super Bowl? So
you know what they would say? We'll never know.
Yeah, it's interesting though.
What was I going to ask you?
I can't. I don't know.
Okay, well then we'll get.
Well, here's what I want to know. Last Monday night, did we see maybe the beginning of the end of Tom Brady?
Wow,
I don't remember him ever getting yanked for ineffectiveness in a game. I mean, he was so off.
Yeah.
I mean, Kansas City made him look like. I mean, I hate to say it, made him look like.
Well, the Raiders almost beat
Matt
the
McGloin.
The Raiders almost beat the Patriots the week before. Maybe they're not what that they used to be. I don't know.
In the salary cap era,
Yeah, go ahead. Just continue.
in the salary cap era, it's incredibly difficult to maintain a winning team.
Mm.
And the fact that the Patriots have done it for so long is actually pretty amazing.
Just go.
Well,
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything.
Okay, hold on.
I've lost IFB.
I lost our sound.
So the thing that
Oh, we're back.
Now we're back.
Oh,
Okay.
we're not.
Okay, the thing we have to be really careful. These things for some reason are very.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Okay, yeah, we
There's a loose mic somewhere.
Let's tell you what, let's
That's what
okay,
happened
got you
once
like
before.
that, and where have I got you?
This is
Here?
okay.
Okay, so we're gonna keep this like that.
I thought it was mine, and then I heard you guys just going, "Uh-oh!" So I figured.
Okay, let me see how this
That's
works
weird.
now.
Very strange.
We can start the segment
I'm
all
dead.
over again.
My whole thing is dead.
Yeah, mine's dead too. I'm not hearing.
Yeah, I'm off. I'm down. I'm down.
We're down.
We're down.
We're down.
Okay, what?
I'm dark.
That's what they were saying during the World Series during the earthquake. We're
That's
gone.
because
We're down.
this got unplugged.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, Bruce, down by where you are.
Oh, maybe did your foot hit something?
Okay.
Oh, is the power strip off?
No.
No, because
So now it's not running.
Now it's working. Now I hear
Yeah, see, there's the light there.
Ah.
Okay. So we have to be
I must
careful
have, yeah, I must
where
have touched
you're-
it with my
where
feet.
you're
I'm sorry, that's
Okay.
my bad.
All right. So,
Okay, so we'll just pick it up from where,
okay. Yeah,
where.
well, let me
So
see.
that really is the way to make $1 million in the market. That's so amazing.
Okay, so
All right.
So we started the second segment again? Starting with the answer to the trivia
You
question?
can just pick it up right and just edit it, right?
well, see, I
You done that
give
before?
that's all, folks.
Because Steve had just finished his thought, and then you were like, what do I ask you about?
Shoot.
Yeah.
You know what? Would you guys mind if we just started?
Yeah,
with
that's
the-
okay.
All
Start with the
okay,
question
so
again.
just be
We
really
do it-
careful.
we do it in
Can't-
TV all the
And we'll
time.
pretend we don't know the
can't
answer
touch
to the
any of
question.
this- Any stuff.
Okay,
So
we'll pretend we don't know the answer to the question.
Yeah.
What were we talking about besides Alex Smith?
That was the first thing
That
we
was-
started
okay,
talking about.
Okay, good. My car's in the shop for some work, and they gave me this little rental. It was a Ford Fiesta. I can't even fit in the damn
That's the
thing.
car I had in college, a Ford
Ah.
Fiesta.
Well, they
Where
said,
you go to college?
you'll get good gas
Where you go
mileage
to
with
college?
this.
Where did you go to college?
Virginia.
I gave
The
it.
Cavaliers.
I bought even a Ford Festiva, which is a little tin box back
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's even smaller.
I'm taking this car back tomorrow because I have to go to the city tonight, but I'm saying I cannot drive this car. Yeah, it's too small.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yes.
That's what she said.
Can't have that on the air. Okay, let's try this again.
Yeah, my poor wife gets home last night from work at 10 o'clock, and then she gets up after we're in bed. She disappears for half an hour, and she comes back in. She's white as a sheet. I said, "What's the matter?" She goes, "Oh, I had a horrible headache, and I just started throwing up."
Oh, great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that killed any moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, not for a guy. Oh, you done throwing up?
You saving the pieces for me?
Since we're here,
Oh, yeah, okay, I gotta tell you something really funny though. So, this Eva was pregnant the first time, and she goes, I have this hankering for Indian food. So we went to that one that's Shalgat or Arco, right? So we go there, and she's not really usually into Indian food, but I mean, it's an expensive dinner, right? We literally get home, and within 2 minutes, she goes, I don't feel so good. And she goes up, and as she's throwing up, the first thing that comes to my mind, I go, Eva, what are you doing? We just had an expensive dinner. I go, that's $5. That's $10. That's $20.
Ka-ching, ka-ching,
Exactly.
ka-ching.
She didn't appreciate that too much.
That's funny.
I wouldn't think she would.
Yeah, no.
No.
Ew, that killed it. Both moments got killed. Well, I figured, listen, if the moment's going to die anyway, I might as well go in style.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Double murder.
Sports Econ 101 continues. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Bruce McGowan, our special guest, Steve Baker. Now, Steve, we asked this question, and we knew that you would know the answer. Who was the Heisman Trophy winning running back that was drafted number 1 overall, ahead of the number 2 pick, who was Hall of Fame linebacker Lawrence Taylor?
Oh, if it's quarterback, I'd say Aaron Rodgers. But since it's running back, it's George Rodgers.
George Rogers, that's correct, taken by the Saints. I told you he'd know all.
Unbelievable knowledge.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Thank you, Google.
Yeah. No, that's cheating.
Hey, I'm looking at the Week 5 schedule, guys, and the intriguing thing, at least for me, because I may be working a game, Alex Smith and the Kansas City Chiefs have just shredded New England at his old team, the 49ers, who unceremoniously dropped him after getting the concussion.
And how
Good
good
vibes.
is he going to be against the Niner defense that is missing some key elements, but shut out one of the highest scoring offenses in football this last week? As Philadelphia scored all their points, all their touchdowns on special teams and defense. So what do you think?
I'll have Steve answer this
Yeah.
one because I mean you've had clients who probably just can't even wait to play against their former team.
Steve Smith.
Players get extremely motivated about playing
Yeah.
with the team that left them. And Alex Smith's situation is particularly unique. We might remember Alex Smith actually came back to the 49ers for a discount when the Dolphins were offering a lot more money. Ended up signing a multi-year deal to come back to the Niners.
Why do you think he did that?
Because I think rather than go to a team that was terrible, he wanted to be going back to a team that was a Super Bowl contender.
Mhm.
So he
So wasn't the money
he made the right move. I mean, again, there's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
That's
Sometimes it's just location.
the
right?
only thing I would have advised the client to do the same thing, except I would have advised him to sign a shorter term deal so that he wouldn't be stuck in the deal where he was then traded and stuck on a deal with Kansas City Chiefs.
Interesting, though, because at the time, the 49ers weren't a very good team. They were coming off of, I think, their fifth consecutive or sixth consecutive non-playoff season. But Jim Harbaugh came aboard, and from what I understand, Harbaugh really went out and recruited Smith because he saw potential in this guy. And, of course, Harbaugh is the quarterback guru. So that made the difference. And it's interesting now you hear all the talk about how Harbaugh is reviled. I'm not sure how much enmity there is between him and Colin Kaepernick. There probably shouldn't be any, and they may not be that much. But from what we've heard, there may be some rumblings, of discontent.
In the end, the ultimate deodorant in sports is winning.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember back in the '80s when Troy Aikman was the quarterback with the Cowboys. Jimmy Johnson was a fan of Steve Walsh and wanted Steve Walsh to take Troy Aikman's job. It was an issue between Jimmy Johnson and Steve Walsh, but Troy Aikman obviously beat out Steve Walsh, and obviously two came together to find a way to win.
And who remembers Steve Walsh now?
Is that any relation to Bill Walsh?
No relation.
No.
No
But
relation.
Steve Walsh was his quarterback in Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we saw what happened with Steve Smith and what the Baltimore Ravens did to the Carolina Panthers. Oh my God, he had a great game.
Yeah.
And just reveled in it.
He loved it. He loved it.
So I would expect Alex Smith to be at peak performance for that game. I would think if I'm the 49er defensive coordinator, I'm thinking, gosh, he was here. I kind of know maybe his weaknesses and just do what I can to try and expose him. I cannot wait to see this game.
Well, you certainly.
I think it'll be exciting. But to me, the biggest factor is coming back and not having Alden Smith and Navarro Bowman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although this last week, I mean, they had guys that you never heard of, like Aaron Lynch and Antoine Bethea, that were playing out of their gourds. Now, again, it might be the system that's working for San Francisco, but to me, also New England may not be that good a team. I mean, the Raiders almost beat New England the week before last, so Kansas City's one-sided route may not be as big of a surprise.
Well,
as we
guys like
think.
Bethea, they really have to kind of prove themselves.
Well, he's
I mean,
30. He's 30 years old, though.
Yeah,
That guy's
but I mean,
playing
just
the
in general,
NFL.
if the guy hasn't played
Well,
too
some
else, let's say, hasn't played too long.
Some say that's an upgrade to Dante Whitner because of his playmaking ability.
And I think Bethea was once a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Or who was the other one you mentioned?
The young guy Aaron Lynch, the linebacker, he made two great, spectacular
Mhm.
plays.
So someone like that who maybe isn't well known realizes, hey, this is my chance. I got to play my heart out.
Yeah.
Gotta leave it all on the
But I think
field.
it's-
you look at Michael Wilhoit.
Yeah.
With the Niners. I mean, there's a guy who played some really good pass coverage defense this week. Obviously, once Bowman's back, he'll only see special teams play.
And there's a reason the 49ers have been to 3 title games. They've got a deep team, and the hallmark of a great team is you overcome those injuries. I don't think they can go to the Super Bowl this year, even if they have Bowman and Smith back and have their full complement of players, because I just think they've fallen off a little
The
bit.
secondary
It's not what it used to be.
It's very
But
frustrating.
you never know. I mean, they won a game last week. Nobody thought they were going to win, and then now they're playing a Kansas City team. This could be a hell of a game.
The other game that I want to see this weekend would be Arizona, who did what they had to do against the 49ers the previous week, at the Denver Broncos. Now, if they go into Denver and pull that one off, then I'll sit back and, all right, I'm
convinced.
I'm kind of a believer in the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Maybe the return.
What do you think of the Arizona Cardinals, Steve? Are they for real? Are they a contender this year?
I think they're a very good team.
Yeah.
They have a very good general manager. I think Carson Palmer's a very good quarterback. Let's not forget. I mean, last year they were a double-digit win team that didn't make the playoffs.
Are there some teams?
I think they're the only team in the last couple of years to go into Seattle and beat Seattle in Seattle.
I was going to say, I bet you the Raiders are saying, why couldn't Carson Palmer have done this for us? Of course, they do have a young quarterback now in Derek Carr, who should be around for a while, so we'll see.
Are there some teams, and you don't have to name any names, that you have maybe more of a comfort zone in dealing with than some of the others?
Sure.
Yeah.
I will not name the teams.
Yeah.
But there's without question. I mean, there's a vast diversity in dealing with it.
How many times do you have a client who leaves? Basically, they've hired you, and then for whatever reason they said, I'm changing horses.
Well, every agent deals with that. That's a very traumatic issue. I mean, it's the nature of the business is it's a very personal relationship.
Yeah.
So sometimes you might get hired as well as fired for reasons completely unrelated to the quality of your work.
Yeah, because you got to be part psychiatrist, part image consultant, part babysitter, best friend, dad.
There's a wide variety of issues, and you also you deal with the mentality that when a player has success, it's because of them, and when they have failure, it's because
Good for you.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
see, we're not getting too personal. I mean, you've had some good relationships, I would think. Who are guys that you've really enjoyed over the years representing and have just, you've kept a good friendship up to this day?
Two clients I mean, I'm close with many of my former clients, but two clients that really come to mind are one are John Ritchie, who is just a much larger than life personality. Another client of mine, Will Svitek, who was a client of mine who I convinced to switch from D-line where he played in college. In college, he was a D-lineman that was like Velcro. He never, and I told him that quality would help on the offense, but wouldn't help on the defense. And he ended up having a 10-year career in the NFL.
And John Ritchie had some good years with the Raiders and with Philadelphia.
And John Ritchie is literally the funniest human being you've ever seen. He's trigger quick-witted. He was a lot of fun.
Do you ever go to these NFL combines and see your client just tear it up and just think in your mind, ka-ching,
Yeah.
ka-ching, ka-ching,
So, I
ka-ching.
mean, it's an interesting.
Oh, a 4.240, ka-ching.
It's not only that. I mean, I once had an experience where I was sitting in the stands at a Niner game where I saw Jeff Garcia achieve a $10 million bonus that I had negotiated into his contract. Talk about a surreal. I mean, talk about fantasy football. I mean, sitting in the stands watching a $10 million bonus giver.
And how much of that was yours?
No comment.
No.
What did he have to do to get that bonus?
Well, what happened was I negotiated the clause with Bill Walsh, and we were debating on how to. It was the final part of the deal, and we agreed that if Jeff was the third-rated quarterback that year, in quarterback rating, he would get the $10 million bonus. And what happened? He went into the last game as the fourth-rated quarterback. In the last game, he threw 4 touchdown passes, passed Brett Favre by 0.6 points on rating, and ended up earning the $10 million.
Wow.
Did you also negotiate, like, if a player plays in so many games, they get X amount of bonus?
Sure.
But then how does that work? Because that's not under your control. I mean, the coach could kind of go, the owner can say, hey, make sure he doesn't play those last 2 games.
As an agent, you always try to structure it as much guaranteed as you can.
Yeah.
But after you've gotten as much guaranteed as you can, there might be a differential in the negotiation. For example, I had a client once on two situations that come immediately to mind. I had a client, Mike Kroll, who was a former first-round pick, who was with the Baltimore Ravens, and we had a playtime incentive in there. And actually, at the end of the year, the team was losing, and basically, I was concerned he wouldn't get the bonus because they could lose without him. But Ozzie Newsome, the GM, in a very classy way, did not try to have him not get paid the bonus. And there's several other situations like that where there might be a debate where the team says, well, the player's not going to be a starter, and you say, okay, well, if he is the starter, then he deserves to be paid a certain amount.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, I remember in baseball there was, and I can't remember if it was Gary Carter or some other well-known player, maybe Mike Piazza or something, where if the attendance hit like 2 million, they were going to get like $1 million bonus.
I remember that. That wasn't unusual.
They were 1,000 people.
There's a lot of pitchers who have bonuses like that. Now, what's interesting about baseball, as compared to football, is in baseball, you can't have incentives for performance. So, for example, you can't have an incentive for hitting 100 home runs.
Why is that?
It's barred in baseball. But you could have an incentive for.
That's the whole idea.
You could have an incentive for at bats. You could have an incentive for awards, but you can't have an incentive for specific performance. Which is interesting because baseball is so much the statistics for performance are so much more.
I mean the whole thing about like batting average and all that.
Now, you contrast that to football, where you could have an incentive for quarterback rating. But yet, quarterback rating is one of the most deceiving statistics there are, because if you're a quarterback who takes a sack rather than throws an interception, the quarterback rating doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
But you'll have a high
see, then that gets all wiggy with a guy trying to think about. Oh, at the time he's ready to get tackled. What do I do? Steve, how much is my bonus?
Funny story. I was.
Tell me the funny story. Afterward, we're going to go to our next trivia question here. All right, the theme is NFL draft picks. What team drafted Bo Jackson with the #1 pick of the 1986 NFL draft? Simple question, right? The first 3 emails with the correct answer on a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward@sports.
That's a trick question. It's a trick.
It's not a trick. It just says what team drafted Bo Jackson with the #1 pick of the 1986.
That is a trick question.
It's a trick question.
It is.
Oh, you
It
guys
is.
You guys are bad. You're bad. Okay, stay with us. We're not going anywhere. You're listening to Sports Econ 101.
If you want to go into quarterback rating, I have an interesting story.
Okay, yeah.
So that is a trick question.
Did a USFL team
No,
draft?
it's Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay.
Did they draft him in more?
They drafted
Okay. I was going to say Kansas City Royals drafted him in baseball, but I don't know if they drafted him.
And then the Raiders drafted him the following year when he didn't sign.
That's right. Yeah, I was going to say because the Raiders couldn't have drafted him #1 one because Raiders weren't that bad in those years. They were just starting to become kind of mediocre.
I should have had questions back to the 1940s.
Yeah.
I should have had questions back to the 1940s.
Oh, and All-America Football Conference?
I know that because that's the first draft I was an agent
Hey, have any of you guys been out to see this kid Jared Goff play yet? I'd like to.
Oh, yeah.
during. I was at the game on Saturday. Oh my god.
He's put on quite a show.
Oh
Huh?
my god.
If he puts on
449 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Oh.
The exact numbers that the Colorado quarterback
Is
had.
that right?
Is that right?
449, 7, huh?
They had an identical 449, 7 touchdowns.
Wow.
You know, he's from San Rafael.
He went to-
Yeah.
he went to,
Very Catholic.
Very
Did you know
Catholic.
his dad at all, Jerry?
I don't.
His dad is a real
I know his
scholar.
dad.
Played. You know his dad,
Played
right?
for Pittsburgh, right?
Great
Played
baseball
for
player.
Toronto and Montreal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I would certainly
Jerry
appreciate
Goff.
if you're still telling a good word.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned that. I like that statistic. hadn't heard that it was the
7?
exact same
Oh,
number.
yeah.
Wow.
Okay, and then we'll get into your question. And for some reason, I'm still hearing this.
I'm not hearing anything. It sounds normal to me.
I
Are you hearing?
did, yeah.
I'm hearing
I heard a
I'm
drop.
not touching anything. It sounds. I'm not hearing any drops. So I think you're okay.
We just
Unless
have
you,
to-
unless you see the
just-
drop on the screen.
Just right hand in the air and left hand like
Yeah.
this, and you know.
I mean, but the screen is the.
This,
yeah.
yeah.
The screen
But,
looks
but
good.
we can.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, ready. Sports Econ 101 is continuing here. Edward Brown, your host. Vern Glenn on my left. Bruce McGowan on my right. Steve Baker in the middle. Hike. All right, when we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. What team drafted Bo Jackson with the #1 pick of the 1986 NFL Draft?
Steve?
My first year as an agent. Bo Jackson, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
He is correct. And what's the rest of the story? Because it's exactly what I have here.
Well, no, we were talking about quarterback rating.
No, but I mean, is that...
What's the Bo Jackson story?
Bo
So-
Jackson
so back-
does not sign with the Bo Jackson doesn't sign with the Raiders, goes to the Royals, and the Raiders draft him, I think, in the 4th round the following year.
Seventh.
Seventh round.
So he opted for baseball instead.
Yeah.
So Raiders then chose him in the 7th round, promising him that he could play baseball full-time and football part-time.
Always remember the two plays that you most remember Bo Jackson running for that touchdown in Seattle. He runs into the tunnel. He
Runs over
disappears.
Brian
And
Bosworth.
runs over Brian's
On
body.
Monday Night
Yeah,
Football.
I think that was the same game he actually ran. And then, of course, throwing out. I can't remember who he threw out the plate during the All-Star game.
Oh, yeah.
That was with that amazing throw. Yeah.
I always remember him running down a fly ball, actually running up on the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that one
He
too.
was utterly.
But now you got to go to the Cespedes one that happened this year.
Oh, with on the fly. I was there for that game.
Did
That was
did
amazing.
it twice in Oakland. Also did it once with the Red Sox.
It's cartoonish.
Just punching out guys.
Cartoonish.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Yeah.
Before we get into your quarterback rating thing, Vern was mentioning off air about Jared Goff.
Soon to be. He'll be playing on Sundays. Why don't you go? Absolutely. Yeah.
We're talking about the Cal quarterback.
Jerry Goff.
University of California,
Berkeley.
Yeah.
And they played a double overtime game against Colorado.
I was at that game.
And Steve's at that game. Witnessed it 59-56 final for Cal on the strength of a field goal.
More points than people in the stands.
Absolutely.
Really, a lot of people left that game. I understand.
But the amazing statistic is that both Goff and the Colorado quarterback had identical 449-yard, 7
Wow.
touchdown games.
That's
Wow.
I wonder if that's ever happened before.
I don't think it has.
No.
I don't think it has.
That's pretty amazing.
That's almost 900 yards in the air
Wow.
But just
and
for
14
defense.
touchdown passes thrown.
Yeah, but I mean, just the fact that it's exactly the same.
And Cal's going to be better this year. They are better this year.
You would think you would expect that in an arena football league.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Steve Baker, sports agent. You were talking about quarterback ratings before we.
I had a very interesting. Interaction with the general manager at the combine this year, where they had one of their Moneyball statistical gurus with them that basically said that the biggest single indicator of success in the NFL in winning was quarterback rating. Which I then turned to him and said, "There's no way you're right." And he said, "What are you talking about?" I go, "Well, if you look it up, John Elway had a lower quarterback rating than Ken O'Brien." And I mean, quarterback rating is actually extremely not indicative because it doesn't measure red zone, it doesn't measure performance at the end of the game, it doesn't measure something sacks.
It doesn't measure heart.
And what I told him was the reason that quarterback rating was such a good measure is because one of the key measures in quarterback rating is turnovers, and turnovers is, I think, one of the. I mean, I would think that 90% of the time the team that wins the turnover battle probably wins the
Interesting.
Which was kind of interesting, though, for Philadelphia losing to the Niners this last weekend.
That's the other Denver.
That's the other Denver. I was going to
Yeah.
say that. That one doesn't work out. Okay, sticking with the NFL for just a little bit here. Roger Goodell, is his job safe as long as the NFL makes money? And if yes, what does he have to do with it?
I think his job is safe until sponsors start dropping out.
Yeah.
When you start losing sponsors for the NFL, then that's the time to get nervous.
And
If I'm good at my opinion.
I think Roger Goodell has built up a fairly substantial amount of equity with the owners. One thing that people forget is Roger Goodell is the one who, and obviously he's had a very difficult month, but Roger Goodell is the one who sat the owners down 5 years ago and said, we have a $10 million business that's growing to a $25 million business, and we're going to beat the players in the negotiations now. And he was the one who shepherded the negotiation that resulted in the present CBA, which has made the NFL owners millions of dollars and probably increased every single franchise value by half a billion.
And all
What
this,
have you done for me lately?
My suspicion, no, I would think maybe he's on double secret probation.
Yeah.
If another bad thing happened, but I don't see the present controversy.
well, and not to get off on a tangent about this, but all the talk about the problems they've had, and they've had problems with a lot of players with domestic issues, but the average fan, I hate to sound callous about this, but I don't think the average fan really cares that much. Do you, Steve? I mean, there's an image thing. They don't like it, but they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna stop going to the games and stop watching just because Ray Rice beat up his girlfriend or his wife.
I agree with you. I think it's good that the issues in the NFL brought a major issue to the forefront of society. I think in the end, what happened in the NFL over the last month is probably very good for society. But the reality is in sports, what people care about is how well the players do.
Yeah.
If a player, if a player is still great, they're going to forgive him a lot. And if a player's terrible, he can be a total role model, and they're not going to give him.
Well, a question for you. So, if
But as an
Ray
agent, how do you
Rice-
handle
that's
as
what
an
I'm
agent, how do you handle that with having a client
Yeah.
that's in and out of trouble? In fact, middle of this week to a lower degree, Michael Phelps, the best American swimmer of all time, got popped again
Right.
for DUI.
You know, I
He's
mean,
already lost Kellogg's.
You know, the best way to the best way to handle a bad story is to be out in front of it and have the narrative be your narrative instead of someone else's narrative. But there's no question that Michael Phelps is his brand. DUI never helps.
Yeah, and he tried to fix it the first time. Remember, he went on that tour, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, this isn't going to happen again. I'm responsible. And then he was driving 84 and a 45, and he was drunk.
Sounds like the guy might need some rehab.
There
you know?
is a sense of invulnerability that athletes have. I mean, they live in. I don't even say an entitlement, but they live in very rarefied air.
Mhm.
Rarefied air where everyone is telling them they're great in everything they do.
Well, when you're 20, how old is he now?
He's 31.
31, and it's still young, where they kind of still feel like they're invincible.
But you know, there is an invincibility feeling, and you know, obviously, listen, I think that DUI is terrible. You're risking killing people. But, there is a unique world that athletes live in, and they live in quite the bubble.
Does the sports agent ever become the fall guy? I can just imagine Ray Rice going, "It's my agent's fault. I hit my girlfriend. He should have negotiated a better deal. I wouldn't have hit her." You know?
Hey, here's one. How about the player who's played too long, and you've got to tell him or her, hey, look, man,
Love you.
I did this deal for it, but man,
I had that.
it's over.
I had that situation with a client several years ago who was coming off his 4th concussion, and was asking me to get him another job. And besides the fact that I thought it was going to be impossible, I said, "No."
Right.
Well, maybe not. Let's say because of a concussion, just someone who's just getting to be just a little past his prime.
Hey, one of the hardest things in sports is one of the rarest things in sports are players who leave on their own terms.
Yeah.
The Barry Sanders,
Yeah.
you know, the Ted Williams,
I mean, even Derek Jeter.
Even Derek Jeter.
Right?
As usually athletes leave 2 years too late. Part of it is because you know there's the line that you die twice when you're an athlete, when you die and when you retire. I mean, you never experience that same energy and high of playing.
Well, it's like Willie Mays. You hated to see him in the last year.
Although I'll tell you this, Willie Mays, his first game was a Met. I'll never forget that he hit the game-winning home run
Off the Giants.
Off the Giants. Rusty
Yeah.
Staub hit a grand slam. They were up 4-0, and then the Giants tied, and then Willie Mays won with a home run.
And I believe Willie Mays last at bat. He didn't get a base hit. I believe scored a run.
In the World Series against the Oakland A's right
Yeah.
here in the Bay Area.
Well, Willie Mays at the end of his career, it was painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he stumbled out of the box on his last base hit. And I guess somebody went up to Joe Garagiola, who was doing the game in Twin Innings. They said, "Geez, Joe, how can you talk about this guy?" And he goes, "Leave him alone."
Yeah, that's Willie
Leave
Mays.
him alone. He's Willie Mays.
So like Derek Jeter, I mean, could you have written a better script?
Yeah.
You know, last home game, hit base hit to win the
It
game.
was a wonderful story.
Some
Those are the stories why we love sports.
some hater tweeted me thinking that it was staged, that the Orioles let him get through to win the game. I don't know.
What's going on here? Am I doing this? I'm not touching anything.
You know what? We got it.
Oh, here it is. This is it right here.
Hold on.
That's it right there. This is little.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay.
I got it right there.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right.
Okay.
All
So hold on. Okay. At least I stopped the clock on this. So what we'll do is I'm going to save
Pick it up.
Yeah. Well, let me save. Hold on, folks. Okay. So.
Did you see?
Bruce,
Have you seen?
Hold on a second. It's not plugged in. Okay.
Have you seen Gotham?
There's a white
Right.
one, and then there's two that go in.
Okay. It's weird. It's this thing here, right here, Edward.
Can I see by you there?
Touching it. It
Okay,
was sitting
hold
out
on a
here. My
second.
foot was touching it, but these things are close.
Touch it,
Okay.
love it,
No,
touch
no,
it.
not that. Not that. Okay. Can you back up?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Oh, now it's working. Now it sounds okay.
Okay. So first of all, what we want is we want to make sure that what we got is it's these guys here. Those two.
Okay.
So let's put those are the
Those
two
out of the way,
important ones.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I know it's a little cramped.
No, no, no.
You all right?
Okay. I'm
All right.
used to it. I've got that small car I told you
Yeah.
about.
Okay.
Oh.
Alright. So what I'm going to do here is we'll actually have 6 segments instead of 5. That's okay. So,
Oh. I was so bummed yesterday. I went out to the beach. There were no waves. First time I've ever.
Again?
There were no waves. I mean, it was flat.
This
Like a
happened. This
lake.
happened to you last week.
I know. It's 2 weeks in a row, and I'm really upset about it. I mean, my whole day was ruined. I had planned on going out in the water. I didn't care if it was that big, just to be rideable. I wanted to get my exercise in. Life is unfair.
I'm doing a story tomorrow on two brothers who play for Valley Christian High School. One's a senior, one is a junior, and they're both they're the sons of not Jimmy Johnson. Was it Johnny Johnson that played in the NFL for like 10 years?
Jimmy Johnson played with the 49ers.
No, well this guy played at the University of Texas,
Oh.
and he played in the NFL, and then we were his sons.
Johnny Johnson?
Have both committed to Texas.
Oh, Johnny Johnson. That name sounds familiar, but I
Johnny.
can't. Jimmy Johnson, of course, was a Hall of Famer with the Niners back in
Yeah.
the 60s. You ever talk to Jimmy Johnson? By the way, he lives over in your town.
I've been to his house once, and it was years ago.
Very, very shy. Do you live in Mill Valley, Steve?
I live in all that.
Yeah. Do you know Jimmy Johnson? Because he lives in Mill Valley. He is one of the most shy individuals I've ever met. I tried to get him to come down and do this thing, this public event, and he just said, "Hey, Bruce, I really appreciate it, but I just don't feel comfortable in front of people." And this guy was a Hall of Famer.
I asked Max Venable to come on one time, and Max is saying the same thing.
You know,
Big
Max
Max?
is very shy, very shy. He's great with with his friends, but you get him on the mic and he's like
That's exactly it.
Johnny Johnson.
Johnny Johnson. Yeah. Okay, I do remember Johnny Johnson.
Johnny Johnson, All-American in Texas, college football Hall of Famer.
Yeah, great player. That's going back a long time though. Back
He
when I
played with Earl Campbell.
yeah, back in the 70s. Yeah, going back a long way. I used to love those old Houston Oiler teams from the 70s with Bum Phillips.
Love
You.
you, Blue.
Love you, Blue. Was there the Houston? I had the worst song. Were the Houston Oilers?
Houston Oilers, Houston Oilers number one.
The only one worse than that was San Diego Chargers. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. They had John Jefferson and Wes Chandler. You remember that great
Oh, that was right. Kellen Winslow.
Kellen Winslow?
Okay,
Dan Fouts.
so-
Dan Fouts,
13.
Oregon Ducks.
Yeah.
Thir-
Do you know Dan Fouts at all, Steve?
I don't.
He's from here, but he doesn't live here. He lives up in Baker, Oregon. Near the sisters.
So we've got 4 minutes and 32 seconds before we jump to the next one.
Okay. All right.
What are we talking about?
What were we talking about?
We talked about Roger Goodell.
Talking about Roger Goodell. You're talking about. Vern, what was your last thing you were mentioning? Something about.
About. I'm sorry. Willie Mays. And
Willie Mays.
When a player can.
Yeah, when they should retire.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
When they should give it up.
Yeah, and you were just about to tell the story. Guy had a fourth concussion, and you're trying to. Yeah. Yep.
I think I already told that.
Yeah, you told that one. So.
Just about when it's a good time to hang them up. Is it tough? I mean, how tough is it to tell?
I mean, just why is it so hard?
Yeah, why is it so hard? There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
So we'll just cut right into it. Now I'll just ask a question. Just be careful when you come back.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I'm not going to touch it.
So Steve, why is it so hard for these players to retire? Can't they see that their average, for batting average is going down, or for football that they're not making as many?
Well, I remember. I mean, one of the big traumas was that watching Mickey Mantle's average dip down to 298 last year. I think there's two main reasons. One is there's no other way for them to reproduce the excitement of that experience. I mean, the Roger Staubachs of the world have found ways in real estate to reproduce that, but it's hard to reproduce the experience of being a professional athlete. And two, even if you're no longer up to your skills, frankly, the money is still so good that it's hard to walk away from that.
And I kind of think that you've had players who you've seen are really intelligent, and other ones, not so much.
I tend to represent pretty much Cal and Stanford players. They all tend to be pretty smart, but I completely understand. Why would anyone else want to leave something that they love? And it's an amazing experience to be a professional athlete. You're treated with great respect. There's great money. And there's an excitement about it that's hard to.
But you got to.
Yeah, you never have any clients come up to me going, Steve, hey, look, here's my 5-year plan. I want to play this amount of years, and then fifth year, then they want to play as long as they can, don't they?
Without question.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are very few athletes that leave on their own accord. I mean, virtually every athlete.
I was a little frustrated with Barry Sanders just because I wanted to see him break the. Was it Walter Payton?
He was like,
He was close.
He never had any major injury problems, but he was walking away at a time when he felt like, well, Jim Brown did the same thing. 30 years old, and it was time.
Well, that was a different set of circumstances. Yeah. He was shooting the Dirty Dozen.
That's true.
And they had production delays that ran him past the reporting date for Cleveland Browns, and then Art Modell said, "Well, I'm going to fine you for every day you're not here," and it was really making a big stink out of it. And Jim said, "Well, you know what?
I don't need the money.
I'm done."
Yeah.
And that was it.
No, he'd won a championship. He'd won rushing titles. What more did he need?
Well, he didn't get a Super Bowl.
No, but
there was no
Super Bowl back then.
The Browns won their last NFL championship. I think it was one of his last years, 1964, 50 years ago.
Yeah, he should have stayed 3 more years, and he probably would have been traded to the Packers, and then he would have won a championship.
Interesting what Steve was saying, though, about the athletes. I remember hearing a story about Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio went to Korea during the war when they were together as a couple, and I guess Marilyn got on stage, and the crowd all the servicemen went crazy. She came back behind the scenes and told Joe, she said, "Joe, you've never heard a crowd like that?" He said, "Yes, I have."
Yeah. Okay. So now when we get to our final commercial break here, this is going to be a tough one for you. Who was taken in the 6th round of the 1972? No, I can't get that to you. By the Cleveland Browns. No, that's too hard. Actually, this one's a little easier, I think. Which is too bad.
Said the man with the answers in front of him.
Exactly. I think all you guys are going to get this one. Which number 1 pick played 15 years in the NFL, won 2 Super Bowls, but was never selected to a Pro Bowl?
Oh.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Can you give us a hint? Give us a hint as to what
won 2 Super Bowls.
You've heard of this player. How's that?
Oh, okay. I mean, he's
a number 1 overall pick.
He was the number 1 overall pick.
He plays in a high-profile position.
Played 15 years
in the NFL.
In the league.
I won't tell you what position.
Won 2 Super Bowls.
Won 2 Super Bowls.
And never went to the Pro Bowl.
And I'm not saying when you say he won 2 Super Bowls, is it fair to say that, or to say
he was on 2 Super Bowl winners?
Yeah.
So he wasn't a quarterback.
On 2 Super Bowls.
In what decade did he play?
I'm not going to tell you. This is too easy a question.
Okay,
but he was never selected to a Pro Bowl.
Interesting.
And he was
I got the answer.
and he was a number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft.
Correct.
Wow.
And I remember this.
Overall pick of the
Okay.
draft.
All right, so the
15
first 3 emails
years.
with the correct answer won a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Again, to answer this question, which number 1 pick played 15 years in the NFL, won two Super Bowls?
Well, wait, what was part of 2 Super Bowl winning teams?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Or he
But
could have been.
remember-
Could have
I'm
been.
not going to say he could.
Yeah.
He just.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
That's
All right.
it. Okay.
All right.
All right.
That was just time.
Part of 2 Super Bowl winning teams. All right.
Super Bowl. Well, I know Bob Bracey won 2 Super Bowl championships, but
I'm sure he went to a Pro Bowl.
I think he went to a Pro Bowl.
Don't look it up.
I'm not looking at it.
Yeah,
How would you look that up?
that would be kind of hard, wouldn't it?
Well, you go Heisman Trophy winners, right?
No, he wasn't a Heisman Trophy.
Oh, he wasn't.
He was a number 1 overall pick.
Number one pick. I'm sorry.
Played 15 years.
He was the number 1 overall pick.
Oh,
Tough draft
two
picks.
Super Bowl winning
Now,
teams.
this one's only going to be a 2-minute, 30-second one, so we got to go kind of go fast on this.
Is this our last segment?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
2 minutes, 30 seconds.
Oh,
And then we got to, don't
I
say it.
know. I know the
Okay,
answer to this
okay,
one.
don't say it.
I
You
think
can
I
say,
might
you
have
can
to.
say it
I
on
know
air.
the answer.
Okay.
I know the answer.
Now, these guys can't.
Was he a Raider?
I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, then I know it's
Okay.
Yeah, he knows it.
Where are you watching the A's game, or are you watching it?
At home.
You want to come over and?
I got water polo with my daughter.
Your daughter plays water polo. That's cool. That's
So
a
does
good sport.
your son.
My son had the game of his life last week.
High school?
My son
The
scored
game
2
against
goals.
University?
My son, that wasn't against University. He scored 2 goals in 1 quarter and almost scored a third. It was amazing.
Wow.
A year ago, he couldn't swim. It was amazing.
That's
My
great.
son played water polo as a freshman in high school. I didn't know much about the game, and suddenly my son scores. I'm all yeah, and I'm the only one cheering. And I hear the coach go, "Brown, how many hands in water polo?" 1 coach, because he took 2 hands. I didn't.
That's
I
funny.
didn't know. I go, this sport doesn't look so hard until I found out. Oh,
Yeah.
they have to tread water the whole time.
How about
Yeah.
the goalies? You know?
The shape you have to stay in is amazing.
Oh, it's incredible. And then all the early morning stuff. Okay, ready? Here we go.
Oh, I know who this
Yeah,
is.
we all
Look
know
at this.
what
You
it
all
is.
know.
Oh, I know.
Okay,
I know who
ready?
this is.
So I'll give his first name.
We'll do
Steve
it. No,
will
no,
give
no.
his
We'll do
middle
it all
name.
in unison when we do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
alright.
Okay, here we go. All right, Sports Econ 101 is finishing up with its last segment, and we've got this last trivia question here. Edward Brown, your host, Bruce McGowan, Vern Glenn, and our guest, Steve Baker, sports agent. Which number 1 pick played 15 years in the NFL, won 2 Super Bowls, but was never selected to a Pro Bowl? And all 3 of us are going to say it, or all 3 of you are going to say it. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Jim
Plunkett.
Try it again. 1, 2, 3.
Jim Plunkett.
I had it wrong. I had someone else.
Oh.
I didn't say it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we will have
Jim
to.
Plunkett never went to a Pro Bowl.
He
No.
never went to a
No.
Pro Bowl. No,
Wow.
never.
Amazing.
And
I have a
remember
very
everything.
funny Jim Plunkett story.
Oh.
You
But
know
we
what?
only have 2 minutes. So.
We don't have enough time on that. Sorry. Okay, so
Can you distill it down to a minute?
can you to 30 seconds?
Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. We'll have you on again.
Sometime in the
Sometime
future.
in the future. Okay.
Same bat channels.
Can you tell it to us after we go off the air?
Yeah,
Okay.
that he can do. Okay, so thoughts for the day. Around 600 BC, a Greek athlete named Protesilas threw a discus 152 feet.
I thought it was
from a
153 feet.
from a standing position, a record not exceeded for over 2,500 years.
Whoa.
Isn't that amazing? And when Clarence Hauser threw a discus 155 feet in 1928.
I remember Clarence.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Okay, and although shoeless Joe Jackson was barred from baseball's Hall of Fame for his alleged role in the 1919 Black Sox scandal, his shoes can be found there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he's shoeless, because they're in the Hall of Fame.
That's
He
right.
didn't have it.
You know, he used to run a restaurant, bar, liquor store combination in his hometown after, and he made money. He did very well.
That's like Johnny Bench had home plate.
That's
his
right.
name. I like that one.
He must have had somebody write the menu for him.
He was illiterate.
He couldn't read or
That is
write.
correct.
That's
Tune
true.
in. He just had a picture of hamburgers and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.